Hey guys, it's Anna here at Logan's Trading Company in the greenhouse. Today we're going to do a quick tutorial on how to repot your houseplants. So this is just very general information and best practice for that repotting, no matter what size houseplant that you're dealing with. So let's get into it. First, talking about a couple of ways to tell that it's time to repot your houseplant. So often on the bottom of your pot that your plant is currently in, you'll see some roots coming out of the pot. I don't think there's many coming out of this one here, but this guy's getting so tall, we know he's ready. That's a good, sure sign that it's time to go up. Another sign that you'll see is often plants will start, their bottom leaves will start yellowing when it's time for a repot as well. So as long as your watering has been good, the plant is otherwise healthy. If it's been in its pot, it's in for a while, and you start seeing yellowing leaves, that could be a sign it's time to bump up. So once you've determined it's time to move your pot up to a bigger size, then you need to select your pot. So we generally recommend that you go 1 to 2 inches up in diameter for your next pot size. So our Chinese evergreen friend here is in a 6-inch pot right now, and so we're gonna go up to an 8-inch size. So if your pot was then, in an 8-inch, you would go up to a 10-inch, and so on and so forth. So we've got that. The next thing we have is our soil. So you wanna have a good, well-draining potting mix for your plant to go in, and we do have several different potting mixes in our garden shop area. So we've got some Espoma, we've got Miracle-Gro, we have our own Logan's potting soil as well. So any of those are good options to put your plant in. And one way that you can tell that a potting mix is good for indoor plants is it's going to have these little white specks in them, and that's perlite, and it helps to drain out all of the water that you're going to be watering your plant with. Another note on draining, make sure that whatever pot you're planting into has drainage holes. Most pretty pots will have just kind of one in the middle. These plastic ones kind of have them all around. Either one is fine as long as it has a hole. So that's what we've got for our repot. That's the materials you need. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to take some of this soil, and I'm just going to kind of put a nice little layer in the bottom of my pot here. And what this is going to do is kind of help to prop the plant up, because we want the base of the plant, so that's going to be the area between where the stems start to go up and the roots start to come downwards. We want that part to align with the top of the plant. So I like to put in that little bit of a base. The next thing that we need to do is get this guy out of here. So the best way to do that is to kind of just squeeze along the side of the pot and gently tug on the plant. This guy's being a little tough. There we go. Now sometimes if it's a bit hard to get him out of the pot, like I was having a little trouble there, if your squeezing isn't working, what you can do is you can give your plant a little bit of water, and oftentimes that helps to break up the soil a little bit and make it easier to take that plant out. Another thing you can do is if you have a clean, sharp pair of scissors, you can go ahead and just cut downwards away from yourself along the bottom to the bottom of the pot, and then you can just literally unwrap the pot from the plant. Sometimes we need to do that with larger plants. Not so much with the smaller guys, but that's another option. You just want to make sure that they're well cleaned afterwards before their next use. So the next thing I'm going to do is just kind of break up some of this soil here. And I'm going to try to put it into this other pot as best I can so that it's not making a mess everywhere. If I'm doing this at home, I often like to take a towel or even 2 towels, and I'll just lay them out on my floor so they can catch the majority of the soil. That way I don't have to drag my plants outside, but it still minimizes any mess that I have to clean up afterwards. So you can kind of do that. You can try to break up the roots a little bit. Now this guy is really tightly bound. Like I said, he really needed to get out of that pot. So I'm just gonna break those very gently. I kind of use a combing motion with my fingers, and you can already see as those are coming undone how much longer those are there. If you break off some of the roots, I have some little ones coming off here and there. Don't worry about that. It's gonna continue to grow and expand the roots that it already has. So no problem if you see some of those roots coming off, as long as you're not being so forceful that it's like pulling the roots out of the plant. So we're gonna go ahead and set him in. Now, like I said, this is the area right here that we want to be aligned with the top of the pot. So as I set him in, that looks pretty good. If it was too low, I would just simply add in a bit more soil to prop it up a bit. Or if it was the other way around, where it was, up too high, just take some out. And you just want to get to that level so that it's sitting in there at that base aligned with the top. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to gently fill in around the sides. And I'm just going to spin the plant around so I can get a nice even coating of that soil everywhere. And I just kind of let the soil kind of fall in on its own. I'm not pushing it in all that much. I'm just kind of taking it, putting it on top, and just kind of doing a smoothing motion with my hand. And it'll all fill in to all the little spaces that it needs to make sure that your plant is nice and secure. Now once you get to the top, that's when you can go ahead and you can start patting down a little bit. It's not going to hurt the soil or compact it all that much to do that. We just want to make sure, like I said, that it's nice and snug, but we haven't been compacting, as we've been putting the soil in. It's just been falling in loosely. So this isn't going to hurt it at the top, just to give it a little bit. And so there is our repotted plant. He has plenty of room now to grow those roots downwards, but not so much room. It's not a deep enough pot that he's going to drown either, where when you water, there's going to be way too much. So this is the perfect size for this guy, and he's going to be so much happier. So the last thing you want to do whenever you repot is you can just give it a little water. And best practice for watering is just to go all the way around the base of the plant. You don't want to just dump the water in one spot. You want to make sure all the roots have equal access to that water. And you just water until you see it coming out the bottom of the pot. So that might take me a minute here. And that's just general rule of thumb for watering whenever you're watering your house plants. Something to keep in mind. So that is how you repot your house plant. Please let us know if you have any questions. Always feel free to come in and talk to us here in the greenhouse. We're happy to help guide you on that process or in that repotting and answer any of your other questions as well. Thanks, y'all.